Morning, everybody. It is Friday, January 3rd, 2025. You are live with the Arkansas Diamond Report with Dudley Dawson. I'm Jason Pattison. Thank you all for joining us this morning. It's been a little bit of a cold one. We got some cold fronts coming through. A second cold front looks like Sunday, and there's a cold front that came through last night at Bud Walton Arena.
Absolutely. Izzy Higginbotham did all she could, and
Yep.
their teammates had stretches where they played well as well. But as Mike Neighbors said, LSU looks like a Final Four team. They've added former Razorback Jersey Wolfenbarger. She played well certainly early, and they're experienced, they're deep. A lot of talent there, and of course, Kim Mulkey has made her hay is a great coach over the years, and the SEC has begun, and man, it's going to be a tough row for anybody, much less Arkansas, who was picked to finish last, the 16 team.
If you guys can hear, probably you might be able to. You can hear my dog Max, the sound producer behind me. He just got a hold of a few slices of bacon behind me, and now he's got a thirst for some food. He smells some biscuits behind me as well, so he's trying to chomp down, like Dudley Hewitt said before we come on here. He's got his black-eyed peas, and good luck for the rest of this year. So he's trying to chow down.
Let's be honest, it's a tough 2024 for him, and he's looking for a better 2025. And when you get a plate of Daddy's bacon, that's a good start. That's a good start.
It is, yeah. I mean, he tore his ACL in January last year, and then horrible ear infection, and now he's on the mend. But yeah, going back to
our dog Stella had a bag of frozen shrimp, which I don't know how it was going in coming out, but she made it through. So, but I recommend bacon over frozen shrimp.
I can imagine. Oh my gosh, man, oh man. Looking back last night, if I'm not mistaken, Arkansas was outscored off the bench 41-7. I feel like that could have been really the deciding factor in that game, because I mean, there was a lot of love shared amongst the starting five. LSU and Falaje Johnson, she got hers. Jersey, she was, like you said, she performed pretty well. I think it was 9 points. And then also, when you're looking at it, they had 3 starters in double figures, but they also had Caitlin Gilbert. She had contributed 16 off the bench for LSU last night. And, Carly Keats had a great game. She had 18 points. I think, wouldn't you say this probably was her best game of the season so far?
Yeah, I think she's had some pretty good ones, and she certainly is a shooter. She got going in there in the second half, obviously. I think when she scored maybe 13 of her 18. Always been a good shooter. Paige Stoglin there for a little while, but Phoenix Stoglin, excuse me, looked like she was going to get going in the first half. But the length of LSU, and again, just the talent and the way they can come at you in waves, just leads you to believe that they're going to be there at the end again, while they may not win it all as they did in 2023. Or, I would kind of bet on them to get to the Elite Eight as they did last year. And Caitlin Clark's a pro now, so they'll find somebody new to play probably. So.
Yep, they will. And Arkansas's got a really tough matchup in the next, I would say, 4, maybe 5 games. You got Texas, Auburn, Tennessee, and Alabama, of which half, Auburn, Texas on the road, Tennessee, Alabama at home. Is there one in there that Mike Neighbors might be able to go in there and snag?
What's that old saying? Any given day, you can, and certainly the Arkansas had an 8-0 run there in early second quarter last night, and showed what they could do. As we said, Izzy is up at 27. Keeps the scoring lead in the SEC over FloJo, but I'm sure that she would much rather have the win. And this is 27 with a bum ankle, a bum hip, and a bum knee. Give her a lot of credit. She's not getting much practice from what we're hearing. Through these injuries, got to rest it and get her going. But it is a tough situation. We all knew what the the narrative was going to be here. Obviously, you lost your top six players. You're going to see many of them as we go along here. Talia Scott is at Auburn. Samara Spencer at Tennessee. It's just going to keep going and going and going. Uh, going to be a tough year for him. And, obviously, Coach Neighbors, and I believe he was meant this when he said it, that he was having a lot of fun coaching this year, and it was good to get back to doing stuff. But man, this has got to be tough not only for him, for his staff, and for the players, many of whom are in this country for the first time and going through this situation. You just hope they can kind of stabilize themselves a little bit, be competitive in the SEC, but that's going to be really tough. I mean, we're just being honest about things.
Yep. And I noticed too, I was looking at Talia Scott's stats. She's averaging just right over 20 points a game, but she's only played in 3 games this season. Is she injured right now?
I'll start doing prep for that soon, doing some research. I know that she broke their, record for 3 pointers and a half in her
Mhm.
first. So yeah, I'll check into that. But obviously, she was a talented individual. They're, great player. There's some issues with her mom's health at home, and it just didn't work out for her here. You wish her well. You never want to wish ill will on anybody, no matter where they end up transferring and all that situation. But she's going to be hard to guard as she would have been if she was here.
Yep. 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 So yesterday it was floated out there that Darren Wilson, defensive back coach for Arkansas, is looks like he's going to be moving on to Georgia State as their defensive coordinator. He came here from Florida as a quality control assistant. I know that one of the things that as a head coach you can really, pin your pride on is my assistants are moving up, which that's what Darren's doing. If that if the report, I think the reports are fairly spot on that. Um, defensive, this defensive coaching staff has been together for the last 2 years. I mean, eventually something like this is going to happen. I know that there's been a couple of names floated out there, I think, on just some message boards on Facebook. But is there any names that you have heard of that might be in the running for this secondary spot here at Arkansas?
Not particularly yet. I'm sure that that like every other coach, Coach Pittman keeps a list of guys that he would want to look at if the situation developed as it appears to with Ron Wilson. You can't blame him at all. He's getting more responsibility, more money. You always get into business to continue in an ascension to get to as much responsibility and as much money security for your family as you can. So you certainly can't wish him any well. I'm sure there's somebody that'll want to come and be a defensive back coach in an SEC school, and you've as Otis has reported, you've got guys saying here visiting this week. A couple of defensive backs are already signed. I know they're going to add at least 1 or 2 more. It sounds like, depending on whether it's period or after school, and you get into the spring and summer. But it's you won't whether you're as a head coach, you want to always try to over recruit your talent that you have here.
Yep.
And you also need to try to over recruit the coach that you have here. If you have one leave, your plan needs to be to go get one better, and we'll see if that happens. But certainly that opportunity is here, and you hire coaches that other people want. You wouldn't want to have coaches that nobody else wanted.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that has been nice here the last couple of years is that as coaches have moved on from Arkansas, it was not a lateral move for the most part. It's always been a step up. So that means that what Sam is doing is he's finding great coordinators and great assistants. And one of the things that a lot of folks have not really given him a lot of credit for is bringing in great assistants. And like you said, that's a true mark of a great head coach, because you're bringing in guys that everybody else wants. And Sam turned the defensive staff over 2 years ago, turned the offensive staff over a year ago. He's steadily improved as far as numbers wise goes. It may not have been showing on the wins and loss column, but at some point, both of those things are going to connect in there, and it's going to be a big season. I'm not saying it could happen next year. It may be 2 years from now, but with the portal and way that you're able to turn an entire roster over at least 22 to 30 guys, um, eventually something's going to happen. You're going to catch lightning in a bottle and strike some. You're going to strike fire at some
Yeah,
point.
narrative's always going to be wins or losses. That's going to keep your job, or you'll be looking for another job. It's always going to be wins and losses. But you can look inside the picture a little bit, kind of the 30 for 30 thing, and see that he has hired some really good assistants. He has not been afraid to let them go when there's either been acrimony, personally, or didn't think they were getting the job done. He's done a good job at hiring to replace those that have gone out, with the possible exception of the Dan Enos experience. And, I'll continue to say Dan Enos is a good man, and it just didn't work here for whatever reason. We all have situations or relationships in our life where things don't work out for whatever reason. It doesn't make the other one a bad person, but it just did not work at all. It was reminiscent of the Chad Morris head coaching hire, and those are, I think, two that you can point to that have been misses here at this university for a while. But for the most part, you have been able to hire good coaches who have been able to help you in a lot of situations. It's always going to be about Jimmy's and Joe's, not so
It
much about
is.
those at times.
I was looking last night with Otis at we always talk about, there's always seems like to be a 4-game arc in a schedule where you can identify and say, okay, this is the place where I need to go at least 2-2 or 3-1, because if I don't, this thing is going to go south fast. Last year, it was the A&M, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and LSU arc, the 4-game arc. I feel like this coming up, this 25 season, it starts early because you've got Arkansas State, Auburn, Memphis, and then Notre Dame after that. Though I feel like that those 4 games right there will set the tone for the rest of the season, regardless of what happens, because how you come out of that is going to really dictate not the, I wouldn't say the trajectory, but the mindset of what you're able to do for the rest of that season.
Oh, it'll set the narrative. Arkansas State is a very good football program. Butch Jones just got an extension over
Great
there.
job.
They won the whole game, and it's been a solid program. It's one that I was the closest to when growing up. Balch, Arkansas, a country suburb of Newport, and saw a lot of games over there. I look forward to them playing. I know that there are a lot of people who don't agree with me on that. That's fine, but I look forward to the game in Little Rock. If that's the last one down there, that's always that's gonna be some news coming out of there sooner or later, I'm sure. But I'm looking forward to that game. But Arkansas State's going to be ready to play. Their fans are going to be ready. It's going to be at a fever pitch from their side. Arkansas better show up ready to play. And then, as you mentioned, your non-conference schedule was a little bit softer this year than it's going to be next year. Notre Dame,
Yeah.
which we watched last night, continue to move on in the college football playoffs. Memphis has been a very good football team, no matter who the head coach, and they've run through several there over the years. They're just on the cusp of being a Boise State type team.
Yeah.
They've been very successful. That game's in Memphis. That's not going to be easy. We'll see where they have the stadium fully built by the time they get over the next year. And then you get your SEC teams, which is obviously going to be tough. This football team,
Yeah.
and we'll see, but this football team could be better next year and not win as many. And that would set the house afire, I think, here if that happens. But that's the schedule that is rolled out in front of you.
It
It's
is. Yeah.
important to note that the Arkansas State game is the second game of the season, by the way.
Yep. It is the second game of the season. In those 4 teams, 3 of them have won their bowl or got a bowl win with, Arkansas State beating Bowling Green, And then you got Memphis. They won the Frisco Bowl. I think it was against West Virginia. And now you've got Notre Dame, which I think probably will contend for the national championship. I think against Ohio State. I think that's what it's going to be set as. And you don't know if Notre Dame is going to get decimated by either the draft, because Otis last night, he was like, I really hope that they get decimated by the draft in the portal, and then that'll soften the blow a little bit for Arkansas and give them a little bit of a puncher's chance. But those four schools, I mean, and honestly, and if Auburn, they were starting to catch fire towards the end of the season as well. So going into that, and I know that the first game of the season, August 30th, against, I think it's Alabama A&M, I think that's your cupcake that you really want to have to fine tune before you step in against Arkansas State, because listen, that's going to be their Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. And you would hope, I would guess if you're an Arkansas fan, it would be similar to last year's season opener against UAPB. This one will be in Fayetteville. As we said, the second game with Arkansas State there in Little Rock. Then you've got Notre Dame up here. Then you go to Memphis. I believe that's right. It may be flipped there, but I believe that's the way it is. Just a tough schedule, and really the success of this football team has been decided a little bit, but you still got some roster management, both here with people staying here and people coming here. This roster probably has, I don't know, 6 to 8 people that is still going to be added to it along the way that will probably make some type of impact on wins or losses there during these games.
Yep, I'm bringing that up really quick. I'm sorry, it is Arkansas State, Ole Miss, Memphis, and then Notre Dame.
Dang.
We got yeah. Okay, well, yeah. Okay, I was hoping it was Auburn. Now it's going to be Ole Miss, and that could be that. That's a very interesting story arc too, because that's going to be in Oxford. You got some Arkansas players that are going to be, teeing it up, ready to, chomp into the Razorbacks, and I think Razorback crowd might actually travel pretty good to that one.
Yeah, it's everybody was joking that. Desmond James said that Lane Kiffin was probably going to be waiting on him outside the stadium after he ran.
I saw that.
He will have played one game, I guess, and set a school record. With the 94-yard touchdown pass. Haven't heard anything new on him, but we knew that he was getting. It was been reported he's getting in the portal. I'm sure he sees the wide receivers are coming. Arkansas does have some really good wide receivers that they've added, but you sure would have loved to have him around after what you saw in that one game. It makes you wonder if he's so fast. It makes you wonder if he was getting to the wrong place quickly, and that's why he wasn't playing. I can't find another reason, that he wasn't. So certainly that was a speed that. Showed off at the boat. And Rodney Hill did well as did good also. I think we are overlooking some of these guys because they haven't either been given the opportunity or had advantage of the opportunity. So it's going to be interesting again to see who's here in spring, and I wouldn't be surprised if a couple more jump in the portal. It's just how it is.
Yeah, I think that's something that you almost have to come to, not to terms with, but kind of expect at this point, because it's such a loose model and there's no rigidity to it. So folks can just jump, except for when it when the actual window closes. But as far as scrutiny goes, there's none. These players are sometimes making decisions based on, I get it if some jump in there because of playing time. I get that. But if it's just a straight, if it's just a chase cash, that right there, it doesn't really set well with some fans. And that's why I've kind of pointed to the fact that fans are not going to start investing more and more of their effort, time, and money into the local guys because they can just up and leave. Eventually, you're just going to be rooting for the jersey and not the player.
Well, 3,600 jumped into the portal, I believe, was the figure that, after the season. And you have a few more dwindling in now. But a lot of these kids, found homes. A lot of other ones found out that their value wasn't what they thought it was. There's only, there's a lot of money, but there's only so much money to go around. If you've got
Yeah.
3,600 people trying to find a new spot, trying to get a new contract, re-up, I've signed a new deal with such and such. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. Very good comment. The certainly it's a business now. I mean, it was a business, but now it's a business that's done out in the open.
It is. All right, so I want to get down to business now. The background that you have there, Arkansas, you said gets ready and gets started July 24th. We have got Arkansas baseball finally.
Let's don't wait till July 24th. Let's start January 24th. That's going to be practice. Okay. The January 24th is supposed to be their first day of practice. They'll do the same thing that they have last year. Have a lot of drills, have some scrimmages leading up to Valentine's Day at 3 o'clock opener with Washington State, the opener of a 4-game series. We, lovely wife paper, will be figuring out a way to celebrate Valentine's Day before or after. Yeah, obviously she's very good about that. But the 4-game series, they're at home Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday games, and then they will head to Arlington for the annual tournament they have down there. John James, our trusty photographer, and I are planning on being there and looking forward to it. It's always, you always know the games are going to be played because they got a roof.
Yeah, that is the truth. And that's nice too. I mean, coming into this season, has there been any losses off of the team going into this spring semester that you really didn't see play during fall ball that you kind of expected that might try to find somewhere else that might have some more playing time?
They were going to have to get the roster down to 40. And so 9 or 10 that were going to have to go. One of them had surgery and won't be pitching anyway, so that's not listed on the roster. He'll be a red shirt. But then 9 players, none of who have played in a game at the University of Arkansas. Some who were on the roster last year, some who were just here for the fall, are no longer there. But as I said, none of those have ever played in a game at the university. Josh Hyman's probably the biggest name of all of those. He's ended up at Crowder and talked to their coach. He's actually playing third base for them there now, which was kind of an interesting note to me. They've got a couple of players who will be coming here next year. And who knows, maybe we'll see Josh back up here when it goes. But one of the things that, I put up a story, I believe it was January 1st, with some tidbits on baseball. And one of the things was Coach Van Horn talking, and he has talked several times about the roster limits they're going to have in the fall. When school starts next year, it will either be 34 or 38. There is a push right now to get 38 people in here. Push from college coaches to get 38 people here when school starts. And then, that's it. They've been able to have 50, have guys come in here, which has effectively been a tryout where you're going through the first semester of school. Yes. Yeah. Then you have to call the roster or whatever phrase you want to use, waive some kids and all that. So I had to do that with 9. There's plenty of them. There are going to be, as Coach Van Horn said, there are going to be a lot of players that aren't going to get the opportunity to play Division I because of the roster limitations. That being said, all the time we have griped about a baseball team having to split 11.7 scholarships. Everybody will have a full scholarship and an NIL deal, I'm sure, moving forward here. So it's as I'm wont to say a lot of times, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. There's some good in those rules, some bad in those rules. I hope they go ahead and bump it up to 38 instead of 34. But at least there's movement on one side with guys getting full scholarships now.
Did the NCAA come out and say exactly why they were wanting to reduce that from 50 to 34 or 38?
I believe, and they haven't released a statement or anything, but I believe it's because they are trying to allow the schools that are not considered major elite in the Power Four, all that, the opportunity to still compete. Dallas Baptist, College of Charleston, some of those schools that have had really good teams, they want to allow them to be able to compete without every player coming to the SEC, every player going to the ACC. I think that's a good situation, but I just sometimes, like with how they dropped the NIL and transfer portal in on college football, basketball, and all that, they didn't think of all the things that might happen when they turned it into the Wild Wild West, and we'll see. I am in favor, like I said, of everybody getting full scholarships, but you know, that there haves and there haves nots. I mean, we see who's in the college football playoffs now, who's going to the Final Four. I, it could have been several teams, but those were four teams that I think I would pick out of 20 that definitely would have been there. And that's just the way it is in college athletics. He who has the money makes the rules and wins the championships most of the time.
Yeah, definitely. Um, as far as Kendall Diggs goes this off season, I know that we had talked about this last year towards the end of the run for the Razorbacks, that he was playing hurt and had been playing hurt for a while, got that shoulder repaired. How is his rehab going?
Sounds really good. They expect him to be able to start practice on January 24th from what I'm seeing. Pick Trail Nation on our website there has a story with him, how he got an NIL deal with Sporting KC, the soccer team up there, and he looks happy and healthy. He wanted to get going during the fall, and maybe they could have done a few things, but it was wise to keep him out. I really think, first of all, that's a great kid, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If they're great kids, I'll tell you. If they're not, I won't say. But that's a great kid. I felt for him and his family and his teammates last year, because he was not healthy at all, and trying to play through that, and he was getting a lot of grief and criticism because of that. And sometimes that can go too far. Sometimes it's accurate, but I expect him to have a big year, to be a big force in the middle of that lineup, a lineup that I think is certainly going to be better from top to bottom. And so does their head coach, their hitting coach, and their pitching coach. I believe they all think that this is a much better team, and they have higher expectations than going 20-10 as they did in SEC last year, going 44-16 as they did overall. Everybody knows here it's all about the ending. It hadn't ended the way they wanted to the last couple of years. But I think they feel like they're sitting on a gold mine right now, and having seen almost every scrimmage in the fall, I'm of that same mindset. I've been talking with Phil Elson about this a lot, Arkansas's baseball announcer, that I really think they are going to be better and deeper, and it's going to be a lot more interesting covering them this year. We'll miss seeing Hagen Smith. But there are now more arms in that bullpen. Some of them young, some of them coming back that are veterans. I think it has a chance to be a really good year, and we'll let Kevin keep covering basketball. But I'll jump back in scrimmages on the 24th and be at every game. I'm a little pumped up about that. And looking forward to softballs too. Softball has had several great transfers come in. We'll have some more information on them as they get going. But their full schedule now is now available. Like first 3 tournaments, first 12 games are on the road, and then they'll come home and play for a couple of tournaments once the weather here has gotten a little bit better. But here we go. It's a new year, new seasons. Looking forward to it.
Yep. And going back to baseball conversation for just a second before we get out of here, any arms that are coming off of injury from last year that you foresee having a significant impact this year?
Dylan Carter, I think, is going to be back to what he was 2 years ago. There's been comments from Coach Van Horn about that too. He came in and pitched really well, even though he wasn't as healthy as he could have been. Everybody forgets how key he was 2 years ago to this pitching staff, when everybody was coming off of an elbow injury, an arm injury, a shoulder injury, just couldn't pitch, and you didn't know. Not only did you not know who was pitching on Wednesday or Tuesday, Wednesday, in midweek games, you didn't know who was pitching on the weekend. It was just a TBA. More starts than anybody else, or at least it was listed as more starts than anybody else.
Yep. I'm pretty excited too, seeing that Will McIntyre is coming back with the I call it the Brady Slavens experiment. And the reason why is because you feel like Brady Slavens was here for 7 years, it seemed like. But you've got Will coming back, and that's gonna. I know that he's gonna have an impact on the diamond, but I think that his impact is gonna be more in the clubhouse than anything else, and I think that's really gonna help with the young guys.
Yeah, and same thing with Kendall Diggs and some of the others. They should have a really good clubhouse this year. Everybody should be pulling together. Uh, it should be one of those situations that not only the talent but the chemistry should help them get to where they need to be. Now, if they only didn't compete in the best baseball conference
Oh,
in
right.
the world, which also has the best basketball conference in the world, may or may not have the best football conference in the world. I think the Big Ten is making a statement.
They are. They are. Well, Dudley, let's get you out of here, man, and keep an eye out for all his work that you see on Hogville and also on Pig Trail Nation. And we will see you all next Friday at 10:30. For Dudley, myself, Jason, y'all take care and go Hogs.